One of the most basic and fundamental pillars of success in life. And I'm even going to say that it is critical and it is a must to have people skills, teamwork. As a matter of fact, name one person, one successful person across time that you can think of that has done it by themselves. Doesn't exist. The most successful people are people that have teams of people around them, that are leaders and are managers and are people that know how to impact people, to cause those people to work with them and help them get their dreams, goals, and desires. And so it stands to reason to master that skill would help you go further, faster in life. And as a matter of fact, it is the fundamentals of life itself. We would not grow. We wouldn't be able to do what we do, anything at all, if we didn't have people around us to help us. You see, somebody cared enough about you to teach you how to walk and to talk and to write your name and do all of those things. People. We need people. And the more people that you have around you that are connected to you, and the more people that are around you that are going to assist you, the easier and the quicker and the faster you're going to go in life, the more successful you're going to be. And so I'm going to teach you four fundamental things that you can use to enhance your people skills. Now, this doesn't just mean to be a better leader or a better manager. Those are great, but the best leaders and the best managers are people who have people skills. So I'm going to show you, like I said, four things that are going to show you how to impact people and influence people so that they will be closer to you and want to work with you, and that you can attract better people around you as well. And as a matter of fact, in the process of doing that, you'll move the people that are not, in your camp, if you will. You'll move people that are not going to be beneficial to you. You'll move them away from you as well. And this is critical. And so you want to write this down because it is super, super critical that you have these things. And as you learn these things, you're going to find that as you do them, you're going to find that things are going to start to change around you, and you're going to change as well. And so the first thing that I want you to write down, the number one pillar to have, and by any one of these, if you just learn one and you do this one over and over again, remember, a skill is something that is learned. You didn't know how to ride a bicycle or drive a car until you learned it and you did it over and over again, and now you have that skill. So this is a skill as well. And so before I go into it, as you look at and you think of somebody that is, you see them on television, or you see somebody that is speaking about something or talking about something, you read about somebody, you notice that they're always at some point talk about their team of people that are around them, somebody that helped them as well. And so the first thing is something called connection. So write that down. Now don't take this lightly, because this is number one for a reason. Connection is imperative. It is critical. You see, when people feel connected to you, they feel a part of you. They feel like you. We have a saying in the neurosciences, and that is that people like themselves. We call it rapport. Let me ask you a question. And by the way, some of this might sound a little cosmic and a little, let's just say unicorns and crystals and rainbows, but it's not. It's science. I taught at the University of Southern California for a while, and I taught this very thing to leaders and managers that were in the tech field and that are in the field of engineering and that kind of thing. Really, really smart people, but they didn't know this stuff. And as a matter of fact, what they would do, the people that would come to my class, it was only about 15% undergrads, meaning people that were students, young students between 19 and 25 years old. The rest of them, the vast majority of them, hundreds and hundreds of them, were people that came in from Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or came in from NASA, or all these guys, and they were literally rocket scientists. And what happened, and this was back in the day, when they would take people that if you had tenure, if you had experience, then you would move up, and they would move you from being an engineer into being a manager. Now, those people, this isn't taking anything away from them, but engineers aren't usually really known for their people skills, and they put them in these positions, and they would resent it, and the people that they were leading would resent it as well, because they couldn't connect with them. They couldn't relate to them. And so I would teach them these things that I'm going to teach you right now. So connection is number one. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever, and this is about attracting more to you and people feeling connected to you. The saying is that people like themselves. And so I'm going to give you two examples. The first one is, have you ever been like sitting in your car and you feel somebody looking at you, and you look over and sure enough they are, because you feel them, right? Or you maybe notice somebody, they're in another car or something, and you look at them and all of a sudden they feel you and they catch you looking at them as well. Well, that is because three things happen when you do that. Number one, as soon as you put your attention and intention on someone else, these things happen. Number one, your energy, your electromagnetic energy, every living thing puts off energy. It expands. And when that expands, the second thing that happens is they feel it. They become an intuit and they feel it. And the third thing that happens is their electromagnetic energy grows. And the fourth thing that happens is you become connected. You become connected to each other. That's why you look at each other like, right. And in that moment, your energies mingle. And for that moment, you're connected to that person for a moment. Now, what happens to most of the time is and we look away and we break that connection. But what I'm going to show you how to do is to do that, because in that moment, there's magic and there's connection. We have an energetic connection in that moment, and we're attracted to each other. Not sexually attracted necessarily, but I'm saying we're attracted in some way. And in that moment, we have connection. Now, the second thing is, that's one way of doing it, is just to put your intention and attention on somebody else. And that's what I'm going to teach you to do in the lesson I'm going to have you do, to connect with people first. That's the first thing that you do. Even when I'm talking to you right now, do you know what I do before? I'm not seeing you personally, but before I do anything at live, or whether I do it live on stage or whatever, before I do, I imagine in my mind you. I can't see you right now. We're going through the camera right now, but I imagine, hundreds, thousands, millions of people looking right there. And I look at you. And guess what? What happens is the same thing happens. My energy grows, and at some point you feel it. I hope you right now can feel my enthusiasm about this. It's on a deeper level. And your energy grows as well, which is why you're still watching me right now, because we're connected in some way. Now, the other thing is that another way that you can create connection is something that we call rapport. And rapport is finding or creating something in common with somebody else to create that connection. You see, when people, like I said, are connected to you, they're more willing to follow you. They're more willing to do things with you. They're more willing to help you. Why does a mother help the baby? Because she's connected to that baby. Why does a father help the child? Because they're connected to that. Why do you help your friends? Because you're connected to those friends. Well, you can manufacture connection through that way. Number one, put your attention and intention on other people. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a little while. But the second thing that you can do is you can find something in common with you. Here's the other example I like to use, and that is this. Suppose you play golf. Now, I don't play golf, but let's suppose you play golf. And I tell you, I say, listen, I want you to come to a party because I want you to meet some friends of mine. And it's just a random party. And I say, let's meet there at 9:00. Well, at 9:00, you show up. You don't know anybody there. And I'm late. I'm not there. But you go into the party and you're kind of standing around because you don't know anybody. And everybody's doing their thing. But all of a sudden, out of the corner of your ear, you hear somebody say, hey, I got a brand new set of golf clubs today. And I went down to the range and I hit some balls and I did this. I got a new driver and so on and so forth. Now, again, I'm not a golfer, so I probably don't even sound like I know what I'm talking about. But that's not the point. What happens to you in that moment? As soon as you hear golf clubs, you go, a friend, and you are connected to that person, and you feel like moving in that direction. You see, people like and are attracted to people that are like themselves. Don't believe this thing about opposites attract. Listen, when they say that, yeah, people may disagree on things, but there's something about that person that they feel akin to, that they feel connected to. So connection is number one. It is the number one thing. And it's not manipulative, but you can create it. And you create it by those two things. Number one, put your attention and intention on somebody else. And then number two, do your research, which is the second thing, which is care. And by the way, these are the 4 C's of people skills. The 4 C's. The first C is connection. The second one is caring. Care about that person. I go as far as to say, love that person. Love those people. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, I used to live in a small town outside of Los Angeles called Lancaster, California. And it was a small town. I mean, a real small town. And a lot of people, we knew each other. And we had something called common courtesy in those days. You'd walk down the street. If you saw somebody, you'd go, hey, how you doing? Or you'd say something, you'd acknowledge them, you'd give a head nod, you'd say, have a great day or something like that, and you'd interact with people, you'd at least look at them and you'd acknowledge them. Well, I wanted to be a musician, so I moved from this small town. It was the very first time I'd ever been in and lived in a big city. I moved to Hollywood, California. Now, Hollywood back in the day was a hustling, bustling place, and it was the mecca, it was the epicenter of entertainment. And so when I got there, I'll never forget this. The day I got there, I was walking down the street, and I'd been there several times, but I hadn't noticed it like this before. But now that I lived there and I had some time, I was walking down the street, and I noticed people weren't acknowledging me. I would say, hey, how are you doing? And they'd look at me like I slapped their mother. They'd blow me off left and right. And this was before cell phones, by the way. They'd still just minding their own business. They'd look at me like I just slapped their mother, and they'd just ignore me like I was some sort of freak. And I remember thinking to myself, well, these people suck. This is terrible. No wonder they call it plastic Hollywood. They're pretentious and all these things. They're self-centered. And then I asked myself a question that most people don't like to ask. What if it's not them? And I thought, well, of course it's them. I'm Joseph McClendon III. I'm a outgoing person. And I thought, okay, well, let me ask a different question. What if there's something that I can do to connect with them? And I started to remember some of the things that I knew. And so I started to say something, and it's something I call my 50-foot rule. And this is a really quick way of just caring about somebody. Obviously, step number one, put your attention and intention on them. But here's what I would say in my mind. I would say to myself, if somebody comes within 50 feet of me, this is my 50-foot rule, within 50 feet of me, I say to myself, to them, I love you. I love you. And I would mean it, because as we think, remember how I roll, as we think, so we feel, as we feel, so we do. But the cosmic part about it is, as we feel, so does our energy expand, and so do they feel it. And I would just think about myself, okay, I don't know this person, but I love that, I love the way they're dressed. I love that this is another human being on this planet, that kind of thing. And I would do those things over and over again. And guess what happened? In a very short amount of time, people started to look up, and people started to interact with me. I even had people say, hey, I feel like I know you. And we have connection because I care about that person. Now, you can take it a step further, and you can ask people questions. When I teach my classes and things like that, I do questionnaires and I ask. Because when people know that you care, you've heard this saying before, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so when I teach leadership, I teach people, I say, listen, here's what I want you to do a questionnaire with all of you, wherever you are, with all of your employees, with all of the people that you manage, and so on and so forth, and get to know them. Find some things out about them. Because if you don't, listen, and you ask them what they want, you ask them things like, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your desires? What do you want? Because people, when they feel like you are caring about them, then guess what? They're more open, and then they want to care for you as well. There's something called the Law of Reciprocation. When you give somebody something, they feel like they want to give you something. They want to help you as well. And so the example I like to use is this. If I say to you, listen, if you work really hard for the next year, matter of fact, the next year and a half, and you sacrifice your time, you get up early, you stay up late, you sacrifice some of your money, your energy, and you do everything, you work really hard for the next year and a half, I promise you that at the end of that year and a half, I promise you, I'm going to take my son, and he and I are going to go to Hawaii and have a good time. Now, how does that make you feel? You think, wait a minute, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Because you're feeling, I don't care about you. And so you want to find out what they value. You want to ask them questions, what you value, just asking them. Because see, if people know, if you don't ask people what they want, then on some level, they know you don't know. And they can and probably will feel like you're trying to get them to do something for you and not for them. And that cuts off the connection. Really, really simple. The third thing is courteousness. The third C, courteousness. You'd be amazed at how effective a please and a thank you. And here, let me do that for you. Let me get that for you in helping people do that, being courteous to people. Even when you write emails, I will say something at the end, and I have a tagline that I'm going to say at the end of this. I say, dare to be magnificent. I wish you the best. Stay blessed, or anything like that. How are you doing? That kind of thing. And just being kind and courteous to people. And when you're kind and courteous to people, just a thank you and you're welcome and things like that, and thank you for things like that, then people feel it. Because remember, you've probably figured it out so far. This is all about a feeling. Connection is a feeling. Leadership is a feeling. And when people feel that, then that's what people want. That's what they like. And the last C is consideration. Consideration. And this is one, it's multifaceted, but here's what I mean by that. Consider not just this person's feelings, consider their opinions, Consider what they may feel. Listen to them. And one of the things that you want to do is if you recognize that you've done something wrong, or if you've done something, you've made a mistake about something, admit it. Be human, be upfront, be considerate. Because a lot of people, their ego holds them back. They keep them from apologizing or keep them from doing things like that. That's not the way to connect with people. That's not the way to build more connection with people. That's not going to create what I call people skills. So when you think about it, any team that you've been on, you're a team because you guys are, you have a common cause to do something. And you connect with these people because you do things like each other, and you care about people and so on and so forth. And this is what makes it happen. If you want to be a leader, you want to be successful at anything, help others help you. And how you help them are those 4 C's. Number 1, connection. Connect with those people. And I'm going to give you a little bit of homework, if you will, that you can practice this. And that is, number 1, here's what I want you to do. Remember what I said. When you see somebody, just put your attention on them and just think that you'll do all 4 of these things in succession. It'll be kind of a loop. When you think about doing something, and again, I use this as an example. Like I said, before I go on stage, there'll be 20,000 people outside waiting for me to go on stage. And before I go off the stage, I'll take some time for a moment. I'll close my eyes and I'll just imagine all those people. Because remember, your mind and your body cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's not when you vividly imagine it. So you feel it. And when you feel it, guess what? You emote it. And I imagine it's a room full of people. And I say to myself, I now command myself to give me the power, the wit, the strength, the recall, the love, the tenacity, the passion, to give these people 10,000 times more than they came to expect, so that they walk out of here not just with some knowledge and some information, but something that's going to change their lives, and it's going to change other people's lives as well. I love these people, and I imagine them. Even though I can't see them, I imagine all these people out there. Now, what happens is, from a cosmic side, and by the way, you don't have to take my word for it. Go on YouTube, if you're watching me on this, and look up Carillion photography. You'll see that when people put their attention and intention on somebody else and they care about somebody else, their energy grows. You'll see it. They can photograph it. It's video. And so I do that, and guess what? I've already got an advantage when I walk on stage. And if you've seen me on stage, you know how I am on stage. I can get people to do, jump up on their seats and shake their asses and do all kinds of crazy stuff because I connect with them. And I'll ask questions. Why did you come here? What did you show up here for? Where are you from? And things like that. And I'll take that stuff. Have a process in neuroencoding where I teach people the process of presenting. And I would say 60% of presentation is just that connection with people. And so number 1, you want to have that connection. Number 1, you want to care about people. Ask them the questions. Ask them what they're the most valuable thing to them. What's valuable to them. Tell me about your family. Tell me about things like this. Care about those people. Have a conversation. I'm telling you, it will work wonders. You can do it digitally, or you can have a questionnaire or whatever. You can do it one-on-one with people. Look people in the eyes. Smile at people. Be courteous to people. Say, please, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. How good does it feel when somebody gives you a compliment? It feels really good, doesn't it? And most of us are willing to give other people compliments, but they're not always fully meant. Mean it. Be courteous to people. And last, consider people. Consider people. Be compassionate and consider their opinions. Consider the things that they say, that they do, and so on and so forth. You don't have to agree with them, but be considerate of them as well. Now, these 4 things, and when you get out there and you do these things, start to practice them. And again, I always use my cell phone to remind me that, wait a minute, let me do this, and start to practice it. And I'd be interested to hear back from you what happens in your life as you start to do these things, as you start to practice these things. I'm going to tell you ahead of time, you're going to start to notice that people will, just like I said, when I would do my 50-foot rule, I'd say it to myself. I wouldn't say it out loud, but I'd say it to myself. People started to look up. And people started to notice me, and people started to interact with me, and people started to pay more attention. And the greatest part about it is you start to attract great people around you. But guess what? It repels people that are not like that. I shouldn't say repels them. It actually causes them to not interact with you in a way that they would know, that they may interact with you that would cause you some sort of harm or cause you some sort of backward motion. These 4 C's: connection, caring, courteousness, and consideration. These are the 4 things that are the pillars, the fundamentals of people skills. You want to build a team of people? You want to be more successful? Use them. And remember this. Here it goes. Life is always exactly what you dare to make it, and fortune favors the bold. And the trick to life is to boldly step up and dare to be magnificent. I look forward to seeing you at the top. I love you. I'm out.